to Crew Boston and to all of you. So many I would love to name by names. And congratulations to all the amazing women who have stood up here tonight. I've had the pleasure of knowing some of you for the 22 years I've been involved and more. And it's just been fantastic. And I have to admit, when I got the call from Jill back in December about this award, I was totally stunned. I actually think I was about to get scolded for something I said on social media. Yeah. but I really was truly stunned. And part of that was because I've sat here for 22 years, most of 22 years, and I watched the women, and I've had the pleasure of working with some of the women and men who have won this award before me. And they're incredible shoes to fill, and beautiful shoes to fill. If you ever want to see good shoes, here's my pitch: go to the National Convention. I know you think it's not just about the shoes, but it's pretty amazing. But I watched these women up here, and I sat there, and their careers made sense. A lot of times my career didn't make sense. So if you're sitting out here thinking your career doesn't make sense right now, it's okay, it will all work out. But I'd watch these women, their careers were linear. It would go from A to B to C. And mine was more like, remember that children's character, Harold and the Purple Crayon? Mine was more like the kid who drew the squiggly lines, and the adventures and the stories would fill themselves in afterwards. And so I think today we would call this design thinking your life, but let's be honest, I was making it up as I went along. So why was I making it up? It was because I have this passion and love for commercial real estate, and probably because I grew up in this planned community of Columbia, Maryland. And for me, commercial real estate tells a story of a community. And as commercial real estate professionals, we are stewards of that story. And I wanted to play a big, impactful role in that. And I tried many, many ways, but sometimes it was like a little bit of unrequited love. I loved commercial real estate, but it didn't always love me. Sometimes because I was too young. Some of you can probably relate to that. Sometimes because I was a woman. Sometimes because I was a parent. And other times because I was a single parent. There seemed to be lines that were drawn that didn't include me or others who looked like me. Fortunately, I had many supporters and many places, and some of the supporters are here in this room, that helped me try to bend those lines, that helped me sneak behind the lines and try to change them for others. But I'd always seem to once run into a line that wasn't drawn with crayons. It wasn't drawn in the sand, but poured in concrete. And that's when I had to take my purple crayon and go in a totally different direction. And that explains the squiggles. But there was one consistent linear thing in my life, in my career, which was the existence of women's business organizations. Now, when I graduated college in 1989, did I wish I walked into a world that didn't need commercial real estate or women's organizations? I really did. I would absolutely love to live in that world, but we're not there yet. And women's business organizations are so very important. They have been important to me every step of my career. And if it wasn't for organizations like Crew Boston especially, I probably wouldn't be here right now. Because being an only in any situation is tough. And I think a few of you know, many of you out there know what I mean. Because when you're the only woman or the only person of color in a room, you are constantly working to overcome the doubters about why you're there. You're constantly trying to voice an opinion that is probably very different from everybody else's at the table. And on top of that, everything you say or do represents your entire gender or race. It's exhausting to do all that. But that's where you can come back to Crew Boston and women's organizations for inspiration and support and leadership and advocacy. And I want to give 2 examples up there about just what onlys can do when they get together. Back in 1998, I founded something called the Downtown Women's Club because not every other industry that was male-dominated had a Crew Boston at the time we were New Wire. So I formed this club of young women back in 1998. The first thing we did was collect all the unofficial maternity leave policies from all the major employers in downtown Boston. We put it together in a memo, and from that point on, for the next couple of years, dozens, I don't know how many women used that memo to encourage their companies to do the right thing. That's what happens when women get together. A few years later, the leaders of women's organizations, myself as Downtown Women's Club, and the leaders of New Wire, Crew Boston, sorry, I did a New Wire slip. It was New Wire back then, and almost every single women's organization in business or political came together to form something called Mass Gap, because we felt, we got some numbers out here, we felt that there weren't enough political appointees in the State House in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and they were complaining there was no pipeline. So we decided to create the pipeline, and yes, we made those binders full of women. Now, it didn't have a huge influence then, as many of these things that I've done over the years, I don't realize the ripple effect, but it was interesting. So 10 years later, we had no idea we would be a national punchline in a presidential debate. But I'm okay with that. At least the person who ignored us in 2002 was praising us and talking about us in 2012. So to all of you, I know some of you were involved in that are here in this room tonight, thank you, because sometimes change takes time, but we still have to try our best anyways and know that our daughters and even our sons will benefit from the changes that we are bringing to this and other industries. So for that, I want to thank Crew Boston for being there for myself and others when we needed the support the most, and for what you do to change the perception of women in this industry. And so I want to thank you for that, because I would not be up here metaphorically or literally if you didn't exist. So thank you. So thank you to Crew Boston. I have a couple quick thank yous. I don't know if his plane landed, but Kevin Majacomo, did you make it? Okay. So, all right, so Kevin Majacomo is the CEO and president of SV International Corp. His plane was coming in from Chicago. He went intentionally 7 years ago, went looking for a woman to put on his executive committee. He didn't have to do that. He turned away the recruiters that kept giving him the same old names. So I want to thank him for that, because he proved that it could be done. So next time somebody says that they can't find a woman with leadership to have him call Kevin. And if he was here, I'd thank him, the office can take it. I'd thank him for his support and his friendship and for his advocacy for gender equity. Again, he didn't have to, and he's always done it. So thank you for that. My SVN team is here, and thank you. Both our headquarters and some of our offices from around the New England area. I really appreciate you being here. You have helped create a work environment that I am so proud of. And I am so proud to be a part of, and so proud of all you do. And so thank you for being here and for showing up every day. And to my parents, Arnold and Vivian, who showed up tonight, flew in from Florida. And thank you for, moving us to Columbia, Maryland. It was a magical place to grow up. And thanks to you, I always thought commercial real estate and inclusion and diversity belong together. And I've spent the last 25 years trying to put them back together in my mind. So thank you for that. And thank you for showing up tonight, as you have every time I've needed you in the last 20 plus years. Thank you to my son, Andrew Sullivan, for coming in from Holy Cross tonight to celebrate with me. But I want to thank you for your support, your amazing resourcefulness and adaptability, and your wonderful sense of humor over the past couple decades. And but most of all, and I'll close with this, I want to thank you for never once, I'm gonna try to cry, for never once making me feel less than, and what I mean by that is less than the perfect mom for you.